Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Daniel Boone, great American frontiersman and, of course, known as the Pathfinder, said these words years and years ago. I have never been lost, but I will admit to being confused for several weeks. I love that. Good morning. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot. Call in with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning on a Tuesday. Thank you very much, Kate Smith, and God bless America. And Wheels, if you can turn up the feed line to me a little bit, everything's a little bit faint over there. If you could, please, I'd appreciate it. Wheels is over there at the station, and right now let's go and tell you that Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers. Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today, 734-6969. And without further ado, let's have our Pledge of Allegiance.
Good morning, sir.
Oh, we're stuck with Wheels again.
Am I coming through okay?
You are, but the music and everything was real low in my headset, so if you can boost that a little bit, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, I need the pledge.
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You're doing pretty good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, buddy. It's time for the weather, brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. You know what? Nobody in the valley has a display like this, like Cheney Flooring and Home Design has doubled their amount of tile, and it's at a real low, very economical rate. You stop in and check it out today at Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Give them a call at 678-6945. And now here's Gina with the weather.
Looks like it's going to be a great Tuesday. Sunny skies, a little bit on the breezy side. Winds out of the east right around 12 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 45 tonight, low of 25 tomorrow. Partly cloudy, high of 50 with an overnight low of 28. Sunny and 52 for Thursday, and could see a 60 on Friday. However, Saturday looks like rain showers are going to be moving into the valley. Winds going to be picking up to about 30 miles an hour and a high of 51. Yesterday's high was 44 and the overnight low was 29. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
She does a great job. Thank you, Gina. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley, bringing you the weather. Hey, don't forget on Thursday, it's the sale that works for you. Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. Number to call for consignment information for your cattle or sale information, 678-9411. Merv May, Cade Rogge, and Lance Udy. Head up that sale that works for you every Thursday, Burley Livestock Sale Yard. Don't you miss it. By the way, a little bit later on this morning, we are going to have the one, the only Sir Max. Yes, Sir Max Twists. and he is going to be on talking about a great big chili feed and chili cook-off going to be held at Magic Valley Tire. And Paul, this Saturday, they're going to have that big feed from 11 to 2, along with the world's best cinnamon rolls and everything. They're going to have a ripping good time, and the chili contest is going to have first, second, and third place prizes. Holy smokes, he's going to tell us all about that a little bit later on this morning. I want to also mention to you about Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Good morning, Kevin and Cindy. And I've got, Deanne, how many weeks' worth of clothes are laying on the floor in there? Holy cow, I got a whole bunch of rumply crumplies that date way back to when I was in Arizona. Whew! Hell, clean your sinuses out. You'd better take your clothes like I'm going to into Daryl's Cleaners, and they'll come back looking brand spanking new. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Really nice folks. And when we say nice folks, I've also got to mention to you about our friends at SafeLink Internet. And the number to call, write this on the refrigerator, your dash of the pickup, whatever, 677-8000. Very, very reliable. They've got over 10,000 happy customers. And believe me, all you have to do is just call that number, tell them Zeb sent you. We've been on their program for years. SafeLink Internet, 677-8000. You call them today. A reminder that Lunch Bunch is coming up on this Thursday. Yes, day after tomorrow at Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley. And I certainly hope you can join us. It's going to be our Valentine's Lunch Bunch. Everybody's going to be there with hugs and kisses and everything. It's going to be great. And you'll love the food, whether you want breakfast, lunch, or dinner, at America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant. Wow, Thomas and the crew really hit a home run. Not only with the one at 611 Overland in Burley, but also the other one at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls, Denny's Restaurant. Delicious. And we'll see you Thursday down there at 11:30 for Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Thank you much. Great big shakeup in the Ted Cruz campaign, and rightfully so. You know, it's really interesting. The other day on television, I think it was last week on Friday, I believe it was, Deanne and I were watching the Fox News report, and they had the director of communications for the Cruz campaign come on, Rick Tyler. And if you look up the word obnoxious in the dictionary, you would find his picture next to that word. This guy really was obnoxious, and we commented at that time about what an obnoxious, overriding personality he had. And when people tried to ask questions, he just kept rolling and gave only the answers that he wanted to give. Very, very poor choice for a communications director. He got dumped yesterday. And rightfully so, because quite frankly, his firing was for the falsification of an ad, very distorted, out of context, against Marco Rubio. And this is going to hurt the Ted Cruz campaign immensely. The very bad video was showing Ted Cruz Marco Rubio, I want to get this straight, pardon me for making the wrong inference there, was showing Marco Rubio walking by Ted Cruz's father, who is an ordained minister, and supposedly making a negative statement about the Bible. That was not true at all. Not true at all. As a matter of fact, Mr. Rubio was very nice and congenial to Mr. Cruz as the father, sitting there with the Bible. And I'll guarantee you the distortion of this caused the firing of communications director Rick Tyler. Necessarily so. Politics right now is at an all-time low as far as having any respect or any order or any professionalism. That's the word I'm looking for. And I think they've done a very poor job. Now, we also talked about, we being my wife and I, about how the airwaves are being saturated with just politics right now on the races in the GOP and on the Dem side with Hillary and, of course, wild-haired Bernie. And we're not going to do that anymore. We are occasionally going to throw in a story in the morning in our first run of you to perceive what's going on, and I'm not going to beleaguer the fact right now. I think it's way too early. I think there's way too much coverage, and I think it's covering up news events that are much more important at this particular juncture, and that you need to know. So I'm not going to fall into that political pit of just spending hours and hours and hours, day by day by day, on politics and Trump and Rubio and Cruz and Hillary and wild-haired Bernie and all that type of thing. Not going to do it. So we're going to change our modus operandi, and we're going to cover all the news as it should be covered. So there you go. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call and say, well, I need this, that, and the other, and I've only got a split second to run in, run out. I'll really appreciate it if you'd have it on the counter and waiting. Oh, boy, will they ever. They're open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday, and the number is 678-0459. All your heating and electrical needs with very, very knowledgeable and professional people that have been serving you literally for decades. They know. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see them today. By the way, I also want to acknowledge that Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Boy, I tell you what, they are good. Got a little hitch in your get-along? Maybe suffering from a broken bone, or maybe pulled muscles, or recuperating from surgery, or from an accident. Oh, they can help. They've got the greatest physical therapists up there. Nick Greenwell heads them up, and believe me, they're good. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being and feeling like yourself. Number to call, 678-1191. 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. I don't get into a lot of sports stories on this program, but I want to ask you this, and I talked to a dear, dear friend the other day, and Larry Hudig and I were talking about this subject. I'll get into it in just a few moments, but right now, caller, good morning, and thank you for your call.
Yes, good morning, Zeb.
Hello, Tony.
I'd like to bring something up this morning about this movement going on to have non-citizens given the right to vote, even in a presidential election.
Yeah.
So, which means that drug dealers coming across the border, terrorists that are here already will have the right to vote, and you and I have to show our identification.
This is insanity. I think that the voting process in this country is it should be tougher, not more loose. And for the Dems, the dim-witted Democrats like Hillary and wild-haired Bernie and all the rest of them, and of course Obama, and yelling and screaming, oh, you're making it too tough to vote. I don't care. I don't mind showing an ID. I am very proud of who I am, and I'm very proud to go to the polls and sign my name. I am sick and tired of the voting process being weakened and milked down to a absolute joke. And as far as letting these people that have no business being here, they're illegal, they should be shipped back across the border. They have no right to vote in any election, and they have no right to have driver's licenses either.
That could determine the destruction of America, with all the people that are in this country illegally.
I
think if I went to a poll and I found out that I had to open my wallet and somebody was given a free pass, I would demand that the election process would stop right there. I'd call the police in first.
This is insanity what's going on in this country. Letting illegals vote. Letting illegals have driver's licenses that they can use to get on airplanes they can use for... This is insanity. Let's clean up America with a big broom. My goodness, Tony. The idiots that call themselves left-wing liberals are absolutely... They belong in an asylum.
Well, these people don't understand what's going to happen to our country if we lose it to all these foreigners that are pouring in here. Their rights are gone.
I agree with you, and now you made me mad. Are you happy?
I'm trying to be.
All right, buddy. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Thank you, Tony. God bless you, man. I'll tell you, the weakening and the milking down of our value system. Oh, man, from whole milk to 2% to 1% to skim. I mean, my goodness sakes, this is ridiculous what's going on. You know, another thing I want to mention, it's talking about ridiculous. I'm going to skip the story that I was going to talk about just a moment ago, and I'm going to move right on to today. The Pentagon has to have a plan made today for closing Guantanamo Bay. I ran into a person the other day down in Arizona that I sat there, and my first impulse was to reach out and choke this person for their idiotic comments, because they are idiotic comments. This person wanted to have the Gitmo detainees and prisoners put in all the prisons across the United States. All 50 states, this person said, should house a portion of the Gitmo detainees. Yeah, the terrorist kind, you know, that can go into the prisons and infiltrate and change more of their hateful ways so that more people become adoptees of their stupid killing philosophy. This is insanity. Now, the states of Colorado, Kansas, and South Carolina have been narrowed down, if you will, by this absolutely dastardly Obama administration. Let me say that again so you know the word I used, dastardly, with a D. And they want to move these people out of the island sanctuary of Gitmo, where they're not hurting anybody, they're not having any communication with the outside world, they're there with their own little vermin, and they want to put them in prisons here in the United States and make those prisons and those states targets. This is insane. And don't give me the cost value. We've got them over there on an island surrounded by water and desert. They're not going to get away and go anywhere unless the sharks get them. And they want to put them in a prison system to where they can corrupt and turn more people into their vile killing ways. This is insanity. This is insanity. And the people in those states, Colorado, Kansas, I've talked to many of them. I'm going to talk to Frosty later on this morning. They've said no. We don't want those people, those prisoners, that vermin in our states. So the government, with all their wondrous ways, ignoring the first 3 words of our Constitution, we the people, they're going to stick them in there anyway, and you're going to like it. Well, between 30 and 60 prisoners are going to be coming from Gitmo to here. What are your thoughts about these terrorists, many of which have left Gitmo and have returned to the battlefield and are killing our American troops? What are your thoughts? Give me a call, please, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Please let me know what your thoughts are on that. Very serious subject, and I think Obama is absolutely nuts in pushing this. Of course, I haven't had too much to say good about his mentality in the past. Barry Equipment and Rental, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, South Lincoln and Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, with all the equipment that you need to get the job done right. I mean, Doosan loaders, oh, those are big dudes. And you can learn how to run them and operate them right there out in the backyard. Oh, they got a big sandbox. And, of course, all the Coyote tractors and, of course, the Bobcats. Oh, please call them and stop in today. Easy locations to get to: Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, South Lincoln and Jerome, and right there on the west side of Burley, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. They can help you with the equipment to get the job done right. Barry Equipment and Rental. Come on, folks, don't leave me hanging. Call me, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Really, come on. I like a good joke as well as anybody else. I like to laugh. I like people to tell me jokes, and I like funny jokes, but I'm going to talk about in a minute a joke that was not funny at all, and it was absolutely not low class. It was no class. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, and very distasteful. It showed his disdain for the government, for the judge, Scalise.
You evidently are way ahead of me because you knew what I was going to talk about. I was going to talk about the absolutely pathetic joke that Obama made about filling the Supreme Court seat of Antonin Scalia. And when I heard it first on the news, before any reference was made about it being a bad joke, I thought, this gentleman, Antonin Scalia, that served our country for more than 30 years, is not even cold in the grave, and Obama's making jokes about this? That was totally reprehensible.
It was. I mean, okay, just let's put the shoe on the other foot. Had a Republican said that about a liberal judge.
Oh, boy.
The media would have went wild, called him low, distasteful, every name he should have been called for saying that.
Oh, well, let's just put it in the modern day as to what's going on in politics. Let's just assume that Trump would have said something like that on the campaign trail, or Cruz, or Rubio, or anyone, like you said, about a liberal judge, whether it's any one of the people on the court. Why, it would have been a firestorm, and I'll guarantee you a witch hunt. They would have ridden them out of town on a rail.
Yes, very, very true. Very true. But that's not the reason I called. I called on, my mind went blank. What was you was talking about just before I called?
Well, I was talking about a couple of things. I talked about Gitmo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
All right.
And where they're wanting to bring him to the prisons in the U.S.
Yeah.
What a great recruitment tool for ISIS.
Absolutely.
You take the thugs and everything in the prisons. These guys get in there, start talking how they can get this for them, and Obama's turning everybody loose before they complete their sentences. What's to say in his last few days he pardons about half of these people that he's been associated with the terrorists they put in there, and what are we going to have here on the U.S. soil?
Doug, there are two words that are lacking in the dictionary for the liberal left and Democrats. And you know what those two words are? Take a wild guess, my friend. Common sense.
Well, if it's common sense, everybody would have some.
I'm not saying I'm any smarter than anybody else. My grandfather always used to tell me, you're no better than anybody else, but nobody is better than you. And there's a lot of common sense to what he said. We're all on an equal plane and we should treat each other with respect. But when it comes to this situation of turning loose these absolute vermin in the prison systems here in America, that's insanity.
It is. It really is. The Bible says you're supposed to pray for your enemy and feed your enemy, but it doesn't say bring your enemy into your home.
That's right. Closing Gitmo makes no sense to me. I, as an American taxpayer, welcome and relish the fact that some of my tax dollars are going over to that deserted area of desert surrounded by sharks and water to keep these people that I call vermin of the world locked up.
Exactly. I mean, what are we going to do with the prisoners of ISIS when we catch them? We just execute them on the battlefield, or where are we going to bring them?
Yeah, you know what they're trying to do, though, Doug? They're trying to, by bringing them to the United States, this is my own personal opinion, you can tell me if I'm wrong, they're trying to equate them with the judicial rights system that we have in America, and that's going to be the downfall of this whole thing.
Exactly. Yeah, he's doing what he wants. And one other note I seen on Greta last night on her Off the Record, where President Obama's going to be going to Cuba.
Yep.
And the Washington Compost is really raking him over the coals for it, because they say it's way too early and things haven't been, changed at all. He's just going over it, and Obama's comment was, well, it'll be fun.
Yeah, initially the comment was he was going to do this trip for the good and the betterment of the Cuban people. And then they thought, wait a minute, what about putting the Cuban people before the American people? What about hidden trade deals and everything? So they softened those remarks a little bit, and then he made this stupid, silly statement, which Obama is really good at. He said, oh, the trip will be fun. At the taxpayers' expense. Have a good time, Barack, baby.
Well, if it's going to be fun, let him pay for it out of his own damn pocket.
I couldn't agree more. Got to run and do a commercial, Doug. Thank you.
Hey, God bless.
All right, take care. You know, this president, he's got 331 days left. I got it right here. I got it all figured out. And 331 days left. And I wish the last part of that, the one, was current for today, and tomorrow would be a day the doorknob hits him in the... Let's not forget the great folks over at Mount Harrison Audiology. And the number to call for a hearing screening, 312-0957, right across from the Minidoka Hospital Emergency Room. And I honestly urge you to get a hearing screening if you've noticed that your hearing is being diminished. Please! It might be because of your cardiovascular system or your kidney health, or maybe it's linked to diabetes or high blood pressure. Please don't take chances. You should find out. Talk to the doctor today. Call 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology. Absolutely the best. You call her today. Dr. Christine Pickup. Also, and isn't this interesting? We just talked to this young man. Why, Doug at Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair. He bought the business from Ted's Diesel Electric in 2009, and now today he's changing the name back to give him all the credit, which he deserves, because he can rebuild starters, alternators, and generators. He can fix everything from lawnmowers to choo-choo trains. So get a hold of him today. Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair, 635 21st Street, Al Fresco Road, over in Hayburn, 878-4991. Caller, good morning. Thank you for your call.
Good morning. You've given me lots of time to think about what I was going to say.
Oh, I'll bet you're as mad as I am. You're fired up and ready.
Oh, my gosh. I just don't even know where to begin. But is it true that Obama has bought a home in Dubai?
I have heard that rumor, and I can't sanction or back up that rumor. I don't know. You get on the internet, and Chris, you, if anybody knows, being involved in politics, you're going to read a bunch of garbage that needs to be verified and pilfered through before you say anything. I can't answer your question. I don't know.
Well, I just would like to give an opinion about that. He can't hardly get any farther away from the United States of America than there. And Dubai is a nation-state that welcomes anybody, but they have certain rules about the anybodies that come there. So that's kind of interesting. Is he trying to stay as far out of reach of the American legal system as he can?
My own personal opinion, Chris, we may be at different opinions on this. I honestly believe, and I had some people criticize me the other day after the program. They called me and said, you're nuts, Zeb. I honestly believe that when he's finished as being president of the United States of America, a title that he should have never had, I think he's going to make a lot of movement to take over the head of the United Nations.
Oh, dear. Well, anyway, I think it would be kind of nice to put him on a slow boat heading towards Dubai and maybe find a leak in the Gulf.
Pull the cork!
This man has done so much destruction to our country. Do our people have the center of patience to turn this boat around and get it righted?
I don't know, but I can tell you that when I listen to the news every day, and I get up and study the news every day before I call the people back in Washington, D.C. and New York City that are supplying a lot of the information, they're right there in the hub of everything, it amazes me how bad a shape this country is in because of his lack of leadership.
Well, it doesn't amaze me. I just don't know where else America is going to turn, because he's made so many enemies for us, and then the alliances he has made are certainly not friendly to us. And I hope that the next president has a pen that he just wipes off of the books some of his laws.
Well, let me ask you this quickly. Give me an answer on this, Chris. If you were right now this morning a resident of Colorado near the federal prison system, or Kansas, or South Carolina, and you had already been asked and voted a resounding no that you do not want to get no prisoners living in your state and in your prison system, and the government basically says, we don't care about the little people, just kind of move away, little fly, you're bothering me, and you hear that they're going to move those Gitmo vermin into the prison system next to you, what are your thoughts?
Well, if I were a resident of one of those states, I'd be calling my congressman and literally blistering their backside if they don't stand up for the people of America and the citizens of those three states.
And your governor.
Yeah. No, I see that a lot of our local officials and state officials, they have good ideas and they are really prepared to take care of us. But once in a while, I worry about the people on the Potomac. They are too far away from where things really happen, and it makes me afraid.
Once in a while, my dear sweet lady, dear friend, I worry 24/7 about the idiocy back on the Potomac.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for all that you do. Also, you've just aroused my ulcer again.
Sorry.
But we Americans have got to wake up.
Amen.
We are on the cusp of losing what we have.
Chris, you're always welcome on this program. Thank you so much. God
Bye-bye.
bless. Thank you. You know, when's it going to stop? When is it going to stop to where we the people have the voice? We the people say, no, you're not going to do this, government, because it is we the people. Instead of having an almost uneducated front man for liberals, Obama, I just don't like the man. And I dare say, if you want to call and take issue with what I just said, have at it. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. He is the worst president we've ever had in a time in our United States history that we deserve and need so much better. So much better. Can we overcome these last 8 years? I don't know. We're seeing liberalism go like a cancer into the schools, into our colleges and universities, into our jobs, into corporations. And there was even, I know this sounds a little loose-jointed this morning, but pay attention to what I'm saying. Now Hollywood with the movies. Minorities are saying, oh, you're racist. How so? Well, you don't have enough black actors that are winning those Oscars. And you don't have enough black directors that are winning the best director for the best film. Oh, well, we're going to boycott. See, this thing about liberalism and crybabies that want to all be winners and have the blue ribbon, everybody's the same. It's now even permeating itself into Hollywood and movies, and they're coming out with stories. Oh, poor Hollywood, and they had a big story headline in the USA Today yesterday. Number of Oscars so white, likely to see a sequel in 2017. In other words, you've got to change. Why, you've got to hire more blacks. We're going to have force-fed actors that are black. Why, you've got to hire more directors that are black. Oh, my! Whatever happened to hiring for quality, or now being forced to hire for color and forced inclusion? Now, if a black actor like Denzel Washington, whom I have a lot of respect for his acting abilities, or Morgan Freeman, even though I don't like his politics, I think he's an outstanding actor. If they are for that particular role and they do the best job, amen, buddy, I'll support them all the way to getting the best award for their performance, be it an Oscar or whatever. And the same could be said for a black director. But to have forced inclusion and say, oh, no. You gave 3 Oscars to whites, and so now you got to give 3 Oscars to... That weakens the whole process of what an award is for, if it's forced inclusion. And that's where our country's going. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Sheridan Ranch Bull Sale. Now, this is, I got to tell you this, Cordell is a good friend of mine. And Cordell and Patty Sheridan have put on a ripping good bull sale for the last 20 years. And now's the 21st. And it's going to be March 5th. Sale starting at 1 p.m. at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard in Burley. Lunch provided at noon. They're going to sell 85 ripping good bulls. And they'll provide delivery of those bulls up to 300 miles from this area. I'm telling you, this is a great sale. Don't miss it. Their program always emphasizes calving ease, structural soundness, growth and moderate frame cattle, easy keeping cattle. They've been raised in the rocks and they know how to move. I'll tell you what, these are the cream of the crop. Sheridan Ranch Bull Sale on March 5th at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard. Don't miss it. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. The story I started a few minutes ago, and I want to get into just a little bit, and we'll talk about any one of the things we've mentioned so far this morning, this isn't really a sports story for the sake of having a sports story. It's a sports story for the sake of complaining about the ability of today's basketball players in college. The object of the game of basketball is to shoot the ball through the hoop and score points. Gee, relatively simple. That's the main philosophy. Shoot the ball through the hoop and score points. Dr. Naismith had it all figured out. I have never in my life seen poorer, and underline the word poorer, college shooters than what we have today. I'll take issue with this on anybody. It's disgraceful. Major, big-time college basketball with halftime scores of 26-24, 28-23. And last night, hold on, caller, don't go away. Last night I was watching the Miami-Virginia basketball game, which solidified my point. 11 straight shots in a row were either air balls or clinkers. And it's terrible. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, Zeb, these prisoners that are coming in from Guantanamo, they'll go into Colorado, and I imagine they'll have some of the same rights that our prisoners have. Absolutely. American prisoners. Will they eventually be given parole into these communities? That's one of the first things that came to my mind under this Obama administration.
Oh, I see that as a very serious potential threat and risk in the future. I don't want them here. I'll be honest with you, Tony. I am very supportive of no refugees or no Muslim prisoners in this country right now whatsoever. Keep them over at Guantanamo. And I do support Donald Trump's attitude on no more Muslim refugees until we can get a strong verification system as to who they are. And I know that in the paper this morning, a new group called the Magic Valley Refugee Advocates starting up, pushing again to bring more refugees in. I'm against it, and I'm going to keep firing against it.
Well, the only thing we can do is back up Trump, and I hope the people realize that we've got somebody that's a little bit on the radical side, true, but that's what we're going to need to straighten this country out.
I agree, Tony. Again, thank you for your call back. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye. I agree with him. And I want to go back over to this other story. Anybody out there that agrees with me or disagrees with me on college basketball, it's a big-time college sport, college basketball. And when I was in college, I mean, there were scores in the 80s easily. Now you're seeing games, big-time college programs that are lucky if they score 50 points in a game. Why? These kids, they don't know how to shoot a basketball. 11 straight clinkers last night. And some of their jump shots look like, oh, here, we're going to start basketball 101. Here's the ball. Here's how you shoot. Man, I mean, talking air balls. You're talking clunkers that just absolutely weren't anywhere close to the basket. What has happened to the quality of the college game? It's terrible. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Time now for the weather. And the weather is brought to you by Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert. Oh, my goodness sakes, they've got all the promotional products that you need. Absolutely. If you're going to a trade show or a convention and you need all your business products, hey, let me tell you something. They are your one-stop source for business promotional items. And whether it's the pens, whether it's the caps, whether it's the jackets, whether it's the desk sets, whether it's a t-shirt, I don't care what it is. They can make it and make it right. Now, don't forget, Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert. You stop over and see them today. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Looks like it's going to be a great Tuesday. Sunny skies, a little bit on the breezy side. Winds out of the east right around 12 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 45 tonight, low of 25 tomorrow. Partly cloudy, high of 50 with an overnight low of 28. Sunny and 52 for Thursday, and could see a 60 on Friday. However, Saturday looks like rain showers are going to be moving into the valley. Winds going to be picking up to about 30 miles an hour and a high of 51. Yesterday's high was 44 and the overnight low was 29. That's your weather for Debit the Ranch.
Oh, she does a great job. She loves to hear me say that, too. Hey, don't forget Mad River Laser, Nicole and the crew at 502 East Street in Rupert for all your business promotional products. Excellent. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the by, some really wonderful people are celebrating an anniversary today. Thank you, Deanne, for getting this to me. Sam and Donna Perkins are celebrating their anniversary. So congratulations to you. Oh, you're all cuddled up and kissy-faced this morning and everything. Sam and Donna Perkins, congratulations on your anniversary. All right, your turn. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We've talked about politics. We've talked about, of course, Gitmo. We've talked about Hollywood with the top roles and the directing. Oh, we've got to have more minorities. Forced inclusion. We've talked about, what else have we talked about here this morning? Oh, basketball. Yeah, we hit that too. So give me a jingle on the landline right now. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You want another little story here that ought to raise your ire about the way our society is going today? Chick-fil-A. They were planning on having a Chick-fil-A restaurant on the campus of the University of Nebraska at Kearney. Everything was all set to go. And then all of a sudden, some of the student body said, oh no, why, we can't have them on our campus because they believe in traditional marriage between a man and a woman. What? So, some of these wackos got together and got a petition started and said, nope, can't have Chick-fil-A on the University of Nebraska campus at Kearney. No. We can't have that. Chick-fil-A's too discriminatory. Can't have them. Shut them down. This is insane. Absolutely insane that Chick-fil-A and a decent family morals value with families is absolutely thrown off the campus because of these wacko, absolutely insane liberals. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Well, one more time.
Oh, now speak up, Doug, because I'm having a hard time hearing you, so talk a little louder.
All right. I've got a novel idea. If you don't agree with how the company stands or the CEO feels or the owner, don't patronize it.
Oh, gee, what a novel thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't like it, don't buy anything from them.
You know, and here's what bothers me. Here's the opening of this story that was sent to me this morning. The decision to bring Chick-fil-A to the University of Nebraska Kearney campus was recently reversed after complaints from students that the fast food chain CEO supports traditional marriage and thus allowing his restaurant chain on campus, it would be offensive to homosexuals. Golly, Doug, I don't really care.
Well, just another thought. I wonder how many homosexuals go eat at Chick-fil-A. I mean, nationwide, I'm sure there's a lot of them.
I really don't care if a minority of people that are out of the norm and out of their decency realm that support homosexuality and gay marriage, I don't care if they're offended. I don't care if they have to find another place to eat. Why should the 99% of the other people have to suffer because of one silly, stupid percent?
That's the liberal way, buddy.
Aha!
I got another novel idea for the other students on campus that are conservative. Stand up and fight. Get a petition to bring them in and see which one outweighs the other one.
Yeah, but you see, right now, that is, oh no, Dougie, you can't do that. That's not politically correct.
Well, I'll keep my politically correct statement off the air.
You see, Doug, the problem is what you just said is absolutely what needs to happen. And that's why I, on this program, will never succumb to being politically correct. I will not succumb to the threats. I will not succumb to the, oh, well, you've got to change your attitude. No, I don't. The Bible and what it says is my attitude. And if people don't like it, that's just too bad.
That's right. And have you seen that interview with Seinfeld, the reason he doesn't do college campuses anymore?
Yeah, I did.
And it says it right there, because they're too politically correct. You can't tell a joke about anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I just thought I'd throw that out because I needed my blood pressure to go up 10 more points because I'm absolutely... And you know what? What it's doing for me is creating an aura of feeling that I need to eat at Chick-fil-A much more often to support them.
Right. Now, another little statement, and then I'll let you go. For evil to succeed is for good to do nothing.
Amen. I got that right here on my desk.
And that's very true. And the good people, we need to stand up. The God-fearing people, the people for the United States, we need to stand up and do something. Don't just sit, yeah, and then go about your business. Yeah,
and then people, I get these calls all the time, and I got to run here and do a commercial, but I get these calls all the time. Well, did you hear what Zeb said this morning? Yeah, I did. Doggone, he's going to get in trouble. Well, they never stand up and take unison with what I say or stand up for what they believe in.
Exactly.
Gotta run, buddy. Thanks.
God have mercy on us.
Amen to that. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Don't forget all the Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And I keep going back to this. You've heard me say it 1,000 times. Meeting Mr. Les Schwab before he passed away was one of the greatest things that ever happened in my life. And I mean that. What a man. A very dynamic man, but yet very humble and very, very sincere. I met him up in Prineville, Oregon years ago, and I want to say thank you for that opportunity. And, of course, his business, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and all the Les Schwab Tire Centers, my goodness, thrives on serving you. Right now, for their Founders Celebration, they have many, many, many tires on sale. Yes, like the, let's check one and pick one out here. How about the Backcountry AT for your pickups and SUVs? Noise reduction tire, all-season traction, absolutely on sale right now. Along with, of course, you know they've got the best in brake service, the best in front-end alignment, shocks and struts, and the best in batteries. You better believe it. And, of course, always the best in service. Lane in Rupert, along with Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You have been listening to Zeb at the Ranch for the first hour. Make sure you're hearing everything. Contact Mount Harrison Audiology for a hearing screening. Call them at 312-0957. We are going to go to the news momentarily. Coming up next half hour, Frosty Woolridge, my old buddy back in Colorado. Excuse me. Then at 9:30, we're going to talk to Sir Max Twist. He's got a great big chili cook-off and chili feed coming up this Saturday at Magic Valley Tire. He's going to tell us all about it. Don't go away. I'll be back in about 6 minutes. Wow, good morning. I don't even see a cloud in the sky out there this morning. Beautiful Tuesday. Good morning. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. Thank you very much, along with some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is landing ahead, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Hey, we're all looking forward to, I know you are, spring cleaning. And spring cleaning might involve maybe cleaning out the garage, might need a dumpster, cleaning out your basement, might need a dumpster, cleaning out my office, I might need 2 dumpsters. Wow. Anyway, locally owned and operated Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Give them a call today. They can and they will help. Absolutely. And don't forget to call and get on the route service, 734-6969. Western Waste Services. Really nice people. You know, somebody else that I put in that category of really nice people, always with a smile on his face, and his family and his staff, always serving you with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Hanson Mortuary and Joel Heward. Number to call and find out more how they can serve you when there's the passing of a loved one. Believe me, a very tumultuous time. Call them at 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. And they can travel to the rural towns and churches to better serve you, too. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, 436-5636. I am really anxious to get into this conversation with a dear friend of mine from Golden, Colorado, Mr. Frosty Woolridge. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. We're just digging out under 12 inches of snow here, and it's a world of white, quite beautiful, and, right after this interview, I'm going skiing.
Oh, well, holy buckets, have a great day. Hey, before you do that, though, and go skiing, I want to ask you, I was very saddened to hear and watch about the death of Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia, and that man served this country well for 30 years and really was a sounding board for conservatism on the court. And then yesterday, Barack Obama, supposedly our president with a little class, and he showed that he has no class, made a joke just hours after the funeral about filling that vacancy. I absolutely was appalled at that joke the president made yesterday.
Well, he's the president, we're not sure of the United States, but he is the president, and of course he gets to make any and all kinds of comments that he wants, and as anyone knows, most of them have been against Americans and against our way of life, and boy, the more I research, I just did a story research right now. Islam and Islamic churches are growing like wildflower in Florida.
Yeah.
Just wildfire blazing across the Florida landscape. I've got literally a list of all of these Muslim mosques being built and Muslim centers and Muslim training grounds and all that goes with it. And if anybody appreciates this Muslim president has put key players, I mean like over 13 key players in the White House aid program that counsel him every day. To tell you the truth, he doesn't really care about the Supreme Court. He doesn't care about, literally laws or the rule of law. I mean, if he was any other president, he would be impeached by now for lawless actions as a rogue president. So anything he said about Scalia doesn't surprise me whatsoever.
Let me ask you this, and I want to get into your piece that you sent me, but I had barely, just literally seconds to browse through it between takes on the program this morning. But you are a Colorado resident. What are your thoughts about the forced acceptance of the Gitmo detainees after they are forcing now today, the Pentagon is going to force a closure of Gitmo, and they have picked the states of Colorado, Kansas, and South Carolina, that the people have no voice in this. You will accept those Gitmo detainees. What are your thoughts about being forced into this?
Well, we're also being forced into taking refugees.
Yeah, us too.
And with literally no vetting process that's valid whatsoever. The one thing about these Gitmo, and for those of you who appreciate this, Bergdahl, who was a deserter, and he got like 4 or 5 other military men killed searching for him when he deserted. And then, of course, Barack Obama traded 5 really horrible Gitmo prisoners who are now back on the front line over there with ISIS. And we're, of course, the ones that get to be the recipients of all this, whether it's jihad here in our own country, or planning of jihad in our own country, or simply the overrunning of Muslims of our own country. And so the one thing that may be a saving grace to the Gitmo situation is that they're going to go into maximum security prisons, which we have maximum security prisons here in Colorado, so they're not going to go anywhere. And, again, there's no telling what government officials do these days. You can't count on common sense. You can't count on critical thinking. You can't count on logical action. You can't count on anybody up there in Congress doing anything that benefits the American people. It's almost like they're just a laydown for all of these immigrants, both legal and illegal, that are literally overwhelming our country, our food stamp system, certainly our schools and our communities, our everything. So that's part of what's just going on.
I'm going to just say this, and I think you're going to agree with me. I am fed up to the top of my hat of being force-fed the idea that we need to have Muslim refugees coming into our community right here in the Twin Falls area, and that it's going to be beneficial for our culture. It's going to be a diminishment of our culture. It's going to be an absolute hazard. I'm absolutely against it. There's another group that came out and said now, the Magic Valley Refugees refugee advocates that they're going to be promoting more refugees coming into our area. I know you're going through the same thing. What are your thoughts about this?
Well, what happens is you can look at Hamtramck in Detroit, you can look at Dearbornistan, you can look at all of Detroit right now, which is becoming a Muslim caliphate. You're going to be paying for all of these Muslims. They simply don't work. They don't have any skills. They don't have any ability to literally become employed other than they do drive taxis, and that's unfortunately, because that's a cliche, but it's true. And so you're going to see literally 90 to 95% of these Muslims will be on welfare. You're going to see them push into every aspect of Idaho as to your culture in Idaho. They're going to change the entire landscape of Idaho. Again, as I've said before, you're going to see, you're going to have your first honor killing at some point. There's over 500,000 American Muslim women have been faced and suffered female genital mutilation in this country. That's documented. You can look it up on the internet. And so you're going to have female genital mutilation, which is an incredibly barbaric practice of the Muslims. You're going to have arranged marriages. You're going to see the arranged marriages going on, and Ann Curry of NBC News, reported upon that. You're also going to see complete ethnic tension, and you're going to see bashing of gay people because Muslims do not tolerate gays, and in fact they kill them. You're going to see all the aspects of them starting to displace and then disrupt your communities. I mean, it's what's happened here in Denver. I mean, I just published a piece about a grandma down on Klamath, which is right down Denver, and she just said how Muslims are rude, they're crude, and they literally have an attitude, and they come in and they get nasty, and they have their EBT cards, they're getting everything for free, and every one of us is literally supporting every one of them. Muslims are going to change Idaho dramatically, and none of it is going to be good for Americans and certainly citizens of Idaho. And that's just what's going to happen. And all those people, in fact, there was up in Sweden and Norway and in Germany, which I have friends in all those countries, they have told me that a lot of the idealistic liberals that are welcoming all of these Muslims are the same women who are getting raped and killed by these Muslims. You're going to see the same thing happen in Idaho. That's a guaranteed fact. I stand on that right now from my experiences with Islam and how they operate and what they're doing to our country.
And I do not, I'll go on the record again, I've said this many times, I don't want to see a diversity of our culture. I don't want to see a fragmentation of our culture. I don't want to see their culture permeate itself into our culture for the diminishment of our culture. I am sick and tired of seeing the American culture pushed into and onto the last burner on the stove. I'm sick and tired of this attitude.
Well, again, the American people just don't understand what's coming at them. They saw Paris, France. They saw San Bernardino. They saw the Boston Marathon bombings. They saw Fort Hood killings. They saw the Chattanooga, Tennessee killings. They see what's happening in Detroit and in Chicago. Anybody been to Minneapolis, Minnesota lately with 100,000 Somali Muslims? The same things that are destroying all those cities. Does anybody know that right now New York City is no longer an American city? It has 800 different languages. 800 languages in New York City. Do you think it's now still an American city? And, of course, the answer is no. You got 800 different languages, 800 different points of worldview, 800 different world cultures. Oh, my gosh. Again, we're being displaced, and we're being disenfranchised from our own country, and it's being brought to you by Congress, folks, and it's being brought to you by this president. It was being brought to you by the last president. And if Hillary Clinton gets into the White House, watch for an acceleration of Islamic immigration into our country over and above the 100,000 that are coming in every year right now, plus the 200,000 Syrian refugees, which, by the way, each and every one of you, your paycheck will be docked to pay for these people because they can't pay for themselves. They have no skills whatsoever. They can't speak English. They will not speak English, and they're not going to, if they take any jobs at all, they're going to be taking jobs from American citizens. And again, we have about 10 million American citizens who can't get jobs right now. So we're in for one heck of a ride, Zeb.
Well, you know, in our paper this morning, one of the liberal twits, and I'm going to mention his name on the air because it's a direct quote to the newspaper, Rick Narabout, speaking on behalf of the Idaho Dairymen's Association, said, I think only good things will result if you participate, and he's meaning by bringing in these groups. Are you crazy? What we're seeing is more of a diminishment of our culture, a diminishment of our job status. We're seeing a diminishment of our cash flow. Like you just said a few moments ago, we're $19 trillion in debt, and it's going to get a lot steeper. I do not want to see a dissolving of our culture in this country. And it's happening. You don't have to be a real 20/20 vision to see it.
Well, that's exactly correct. We are seeing America being dissolved. And one of the things that I would ask everyone, go to newswithviews.com, and it's not in today's column. I talk about a grandmother in Denver who's seeing her neighborhood completely deformed by all these immigrants coming in. But in this piece that I wrote, and you can look it up in the archives, Where is Our Civilization Headed? The pundit Patrick J. Buchanan wrote a piece on the tribalism returns to Europe, as he chronicled the devastating aspects of multiculturalism in Germany, France, United Kingdom, Denmark, Holland, and much of Europe. Buchanan noted that Islam, the most intolerant and violent ideology on the planet, utilizes Western freedoms and laws to upend and to defeat the foundation of free speech, democracy, and personal choice. And of course, here's another aspect of that. My former Colorado Governor Richard D. Lamb, whom I've befriended over the last 20 years, he said, and I'm quoting, if you believe that America is too smug, too self-satisfied, too rich, then let's destroy America. It is not hard to do. No nation in history has survived the ravages of time. Arnold Toynbee, the great historian, observed that all great civilizations rise and fall, and that an autopsy of history would show that all great nations commit suicide. Unquote. We are 19 trillion in debt. We're 321 million people. We've got massive problems racially right now with Ferguson, Missouri. We've got 6,000 African Americans killing 6,000 African Americans every year, called black on black crime. We've got Baltimore, Maryland. We've got literally a complete Mexican takeover of Los Angeles. And all the cities around that area because of the invasion. And we're headed for another 100 million legal immigrants. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't say this enough. Where is our civilization headed? Well, if you look at what Rome did to itself, or the Mayan Empire did to itself, or to any and all situations where people allowed themselves to be overrun and overwhelmed by immigration, you see the final result, and we are headed straight toward that final result. And I brought up the one, Jared Diamond. He wrote a book, Collapse. Societies choose how they choose to succeed or fail. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Americans there in Idaho and the Northwest and everyone listening, Canada and America are choosing to fail their countries right now. We are guaranteed to fail our countries on this current path of immigrating all these third world people. Idaho's going to pay one devil of a price for bringing in such barbaric people from barbaric regions of the world and barbaric religions such as Islam. It's just a fact this is going to happen because it's already happening here in Denver.
You know, and here's a fact, and I listened to this man when he initially gave this speech and talked about it. Billy Graham's son, Franklin Graham, made a very poignant speech months and months ago when he said we're doing a disservice to these people by relocating them here in the United States when we could put forth as much effort or more and possibly save a lot of money by trying to help them and house them in their own country, in safe zones, in their own culture. And I really appreciate that remark. What are your thoughts?
Well, I've said that forever, and Roy Beck has said that forever. Help them in their own countries. Help them with water purification. Help them with pumping water. Help them with food production. Help them there. And as a matter of fact, it's easier to help them and cheaper to help them in their own countries than it is to bring them here where there's going to be nothing but ethnic and religious tension and outright conflict in the coming years as their leaders. And I guarantee you, Muslim leaders don't waste time. As their numbers grow, their voting power grows, they then start taking over. Again, as Ann Corcoran said in the Refugee Resettlement Watch.wordpress.com, they don't mess around. They just come in and take over. I've got a listing right now of all of the new mosques and Muslim centers in Florida. It's just incredible. And again, as I've said, mosques are nothing but territorial markers. They're like the forts that we put up across this country to defend and then conquer all of the Native American citizens that were here before we are. Well, guess what? We're having the same thing done to us, and yet we're doing it by invitation. And we're going to pay a severe price, just like Europe, as we see our culture displaced, our language displaced, our communities completely disrupted, because that's what Muslims do. The first prime directive of the Quran, which is the Islamic text, is to convert or kill all non-believers. That's the reality we're facing, and everybody seems to want to avoid that reality except you and me.
And then you get these liberals that have the combined IQ of a bicycle spoke that say we're the bigots and the hate mongers because we're trying to protect our society, trying to protect our country, and trying to protect our Constitution. You know, this whole thing is turned upside down, Frosty.
Well, that's exactly right. And this has nothing to do with hate. It has nothing to do with racism. It has everything to do with common sense. It has to do with history. It has to do with logical thinking, rational action, and bring that to a result, and a positive result. The fact is, Muslims are literally rampaging every Western country they come into. They don't assimilate. They don't absorb into that country. They don't become part of that country. If you go in, Michael Dennis Lynch right now on my Facebook page, Frosty Wooldridge, did a whole story on Detroit. There's not one American flag in all of the Detroit Muslim neighborhoods. In fact, you'll see Islamic ISIS flags, and they fly them off their cars. I mean, Americans don't realize what's coming at them, but it is a cancer of Islam, and it is a virus that continues to metastasize, and it is metastasizing across America right now. And then once it gets embedded into Idaho, all those liberals are going to be eating their words and swallowing their guts when their daughter gets raped, or when they get robbed, or they get overtaken, or their city council gets taken and they put Sharia law into effect. That's what's coming. I'll stand on that because that's what's happening to Europe. And when I visited Europe, I was appalled. Women are treated worse than dogs. Children have no say in anything. There's no personal choice of religion under Islam. There's no women's rights under Islam. There's no right to not have your body butchered by Islamic imams called female genital mutilation. We're in a lot of trouble, Zeb, and I will keep sounding the alarm very clearly and very factually, and has nothing to do with hate monger. It has nothing to do with racism. It has to do with the preservation of our culture, our language, our people, and our ethos.
Amen. Amen, and I mean that when I say amen. Real quick, short answer on this, Frosty. I've only got 2 minutes left, but I got a note from the desk of Sheriff Joe Arpaio in Arizona, and he was mentioning a story about a top Border Patrol agent just revealed that if he even dares to ask an illegal alien why they crossed the border, they will lose their jobs now with the new edicts from the Obama administration. Quickly, give me a thought on that.
Well, whatever you do, dear listener, if we don't get Donald Trump into the office of the United States presidency, we're going to go down faster than anyone understands with this massive immigration overload, both legally and illegally. And at some point, we will no longer have a voice or a choice in our own country. It's just that simple, Zeb.
I totally agree, and thank you for that piece. I'm going to save that one, and we'll talk more about it next week on the program. Frosty Woldridge in Golden, Colorado, a dear friend and has been a contributor to this program for many years. God bless you, my friend. See you next Tuesday.
Sounds good, Zeb. Godspeed, my friend.
All right, take care. Thank you very, very much. My buddy, Frosty Woldridge, and he's right. Let's ride 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the entire world, and it is where the fun is sold. By the way, yours truly is heading over there in the next day or so to get my ATVs all serviced and ready to go. It's that time of the year. Don't wait. You're going to wait till somebody's going to call you on the old telephone and say, hey, let's go on a little road trip up in the hills or something on the ATVs. Well, I forgot to get my service on my ATVs. Well, don't be that way. Get it done now so you're ready to turn the key and have fun. Absolutely. They got a great service department over there. All you have to do is call, make sure everything's all set up for an appointment at 436-4771. Let's ride. And oh my goodness, if you don't have ATVs and you want to get started, what a great place, what a great inventory, what great people at Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the world, where the fun is sold. And I also, doggone throat is acting up again. Have to go back to Arizona. Don't forget, too, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. My goodness sakes, all your health insurance, life insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. And you know, those are things that I don't know why, but we just don't want to talk about. We don't want to talk about the insecure feeling that we're not covered. Well, take it upon yourself to call them today and make sure you make an appointment. They can help you. They will help you. Call 436-4424. 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Really nice people. Once again, let's see, what else have I got on my public service? Oh, anniversary again. I want to say congratulations to Sam and Donna Perkins having an anniversary today. God bless you. Hope you have a wonderful day. Sam, take her out to eat. Most expensive dinner you can ever buy. There you go. Want to remind you, too, about our friends at Red's Trading Post. Holy cow, for all your guns. And I mean that, all your guns. They've got them all right there. They've got them from Browning, Beretta, Weatherby, Ruger, Benelli, Smith & Wesson, Winchester, all the ammunition, all the accessories. Oh, and by the way, too, for those of you that are into reloading, they've got all the hard-to-find powder for the reloading, too. Located at 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. And they've been in historic Old Town Twin Falls since 1936. Really good people at Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. I happen to know from a non-impeachable source that there is going to be a great energy revival over in Paul, Idaho this Saturday. There will be no shortage of gas because it is now time for Sir Max Twist of Magic Valley Tire to get on the air with me and talk about the great big chili cook-off and chili feed going on this Saturday. Good morning, Sir Max.
Good morning, Zeb. It's that time again, isn't it?
Oh, my goodness sakes. I can smell the aroma already.
Oh, yeah. All good aroma. All good aroma, Zeb.
How many years have you been doing this?
17th year on our chili.
Holy smokes, 17 years.
It's been that long either.
Well.
Didn't seem like it, but that's what it is. 17 years we've been having this annual cook-off, and chili feed will be doing it again this Saturday.
Well, now, I'm going to tell you something you might not have known, Max, and this dates back all the way to 1850. Did you know that a recipe consisting of dried beef, suet, and dried chili peppers and salt that were all pounded together and formed into bricks and left to dry, which could later be boiled on the trail, was used by wagon trains and cattle drovers as the first chili back in 1850.
You know, just look how good that stuff is for you then. They made her through, and boy, what better choice could have they made?
Well, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't want to have been on the side of the trail after that stuff had been laying in bricks for about 3 months.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Well, now, Max, tell us a little bit about this cook-off. What are you going to do, have a contest?
Yeah, we are. We've got anyone wanting to enter, you know, they're welcome to enter, anyone with their chili recipe, and come in here and we'll have a great time. We'll award 3 prizes, first, second, and third prizes for the chili, and we'll have judges here to do that, and we're going to have chili and cinnamon rolls and a good time. And if you're going to enter on the chili, you know, we'd like it here by 10:30 in the morning.
Okay.
On Saturday.
Uh-huh.
And but it has always been it's been a good time here.
All right, now
it looks like we're going to have some good weather for this weekend too.
Oh, it's going to be great, fantastic. Now let's talk a little bit about the chili. Now, are there any certain rules or certain classifications? How do you judge the chili?
Well, you know, we've got, it's just by the taste of the judges, I guess, Zeb, because we do not put any rules on the chili. I mean, they can bring hot, they can bring, we've had turkey chili, we've had every kind of chili imaginable come in here. And, you know, we've got 2 or 3 of our chili makers that come in every year, and they're hard to beat. I have different judges, Zeb, but boy, something they put in some of this chili must be good, and it is. I've tasted it.
Well,
and boy, they're tough to compete with.
Let me ask you this. Now, I would imagine that you probably have to have the EMTs standing by for the really hot chili. What is it? Do you judge the hot chili by the last judge standing?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we got, no, we just leave it up to them. I mean, and some of them like it, so whichever ones go one way or the other way, that's where they'll judge it.
Okay, so you're going to pay first and second and third with prizes for the best chili, right?
And it'll be money prizes, yep.
Oh, my goodness sakes. Now, right after the judging, what happens then?
Then we just start feeding. You know, they can right after the judging, we go and they can taste these chilies that these participants come in with. You know, and they have a good time just testing all this chili. You know, and it's always been a great fun here, letting them all, you know, the people that come in here test the chili, and it don't last long. You know, they like to eat that up, and then we've got plenty of chili ourselves and cinnamon rolls and drinks, and we'll just, you know, we'll feed you from 11 o'clock till 2 o'clock.
Okay. Now, Max, what about the chili itself? I mean, my goodness, if you have any left over, what are you going to do with all that chili?
We just distribute it.
Okay.
If we have any chili left over, we'll make sure we'll give it to the guys here or whoever wants some of it. We'll just, we can put it in a can for you or whatever you want.
Now, if they want to enter or if they need more information, is there a number they can call?
Yep, they can call right here at the shop at 438-8444 and talk to either Amber or Sonia. And that just tell them you'll be coming, and that's all it takes to enter.
Now, I remember, I think it was a year or so ago, you told me that you, Max Twist, could take anybody's hot chili and you'd smile. It didn't bother you at all. Is that really true?
You know, I can still do that pretty much, Zeb. I must have a cast iron stomach because it just does not bother me too bad.
Oh, my goodness. So if you were a judge and you were going to pick the top chili, what kind of a taste sensation would you judge as being the best?
You know, I like it on the hot side, the spicy side, and you know, but it's still got to have that good flavor. You know, there is a thing of hot chili that, you know, I mean, some of it is hot, but it doesn't, some of them, and it doesn't really have the flavor, but some of them got that it's down pat to where it's got a little hotness to it, but it's still got all the flavor.
So now, what are some of the different chilies? I mean, I've heard about, the meat chili, and I've heard about, like you said, the turkey chili, and I've heard about the veggie chili. What are all the different kinds? Do you know?
You know, we've had like I say, chicken, turkey, buffalo, elk, moose, deer, the whole gamma of it. All kinds of chili comes in here. You know, is it true on chili that there is no beans in real chili?
Well, you know, I read that way back to the beginning of the 20th century. They said that beans actually were associated with chili. And that was my next question to you. What kind of beans make for the most tasty chili?
You know, my preference, of course, is pinto. But there's whites come in here. There's pinks come in. It's just whatever their recipe happens to be, and they like to make. Some people like to make it a little different, and the red beans. I've had them come in with the black beans, the whole gamma of it.
Now, do they serve it like with some cheese mixed into it with grain?
Yeah.
Oh, they do.
Bring their cheese. It's all mixed up. They've got little things there. Yeah, we'll have cheese here too, you know, to put on our chili, and but they bring their little some of their little recipes with them that they can add to that chili too when they eat it.
Now I like to have diced onions, and I like a little bit of sour cream, and sometimes, Max, I like a little brown sugar mixed into it.
You know, I like the brown sugar too, but we'll have the sour cream and the onions and all of that here. We'll have jalapenos, the whole bunch of it. So whatever you like, we'll have here.
Now, is it true that you went to a national corporate sponsor called Pepto-Bismol to sponsor this?
No, but maybe we should have then.
Well, give us the particulars one more time about this great big chili happening going on over there in Paul this Saturday at Magic Valley Tire.
On Saturday, the 27th, at 11 a.m. If you're in the cook-off and you're wanting the chili, we'd like it here by 10:30. But if you're not, just come join us at 11 o'clock. We'll start feeding you cinnamon rolls, chili, and whatever you want to put in it. It'll go from 11 until 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and everyone's welcome. The more the merrier here.
And by the way, that key 4-letter word, it's free.
It is all free, and we just want you to come by, and this is just a thanks to all my customers or anyone around. You know, that it's just wonderful the support that we get out of our community. It's you know, our area, our Minicasia, Twin Falls area. It's a wonderful area. You know that. That's why you're here.
Absolutely. Here's what I'm going to do. If I can't make it over Saturday, I'm sure going to try. At my next opportunity, I'm going to have Deanne make up a brick of dried beef, suet, dried chili peppers, and salt, and we're going to leave it sit out in the sun over by the horse corrals for about 3 months and harden up good, and then I'm going to bring it over to you about maybe the 1st of July and see if you want to sample it, okay?
That'll be great, Zeb. I'll try anything once.
Oh, Sir Max, my friend Max Twist over at Magic Valley Tire and Paul. That's going to be absolutely outstanding this Saturday. I wish you a lot of luck. God bless you, my friend. Thanks for being on the air.
Thank you for your time, Zeb.
All right, take care. Thank you very much.
We'll see you.
All righty. I was a judge one time at a chili cook-off. Notice I said one time. Woo, baby! The smoke coming out of your ears and up the back collar of your shirt and everything else. Oh, my goodness. I'm just not tough enough. I used to be able to withstand very hot chili. I used to be able to withstand, getting a steak and putting all the Tabasco and everything on. I used to be able to withstand the hot salsa on like maybe an omelet. Oh, I mean, pour that salsa on there. I can't do that anymore. I wonder what happened. Anyway, I think we'll have the weather, and then I'd appreciate some phone calls this morning. Come on, dial me and let me know what you think about various subjects that we've talked about already this morning. But right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Looks like it's going to be a great Tuesday. Sunny skies, a little bit on the breezy side. Winds out of the east right around 12 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 45 tonight, low of 25 tomorrow. Partly cloudy, high of 50 with an overnight low of 28. Sunny and 52 for Thursday, and could be a 60 on Friday. However, Saturday looks like rain showers are going to be moving into the valley. Winds going to be picking up to about 30 miles an hour and a high of 51. Yesterday's high was 44 and the overnight low was 29. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, Gina, thank you very much. I got to tell you that I quit using salt about a year ago. I had that heart attack, and they said, we heartily suggest you don't use salt anymore. I quit. I mean, just cold turkey quit right after that heart attack. I have not picked up a salt shaker for almost over a year. And the only time I pick it up is to pass it to somebody else. And I know there's salt in a lot of products and everything, so I'm still getting salt per se. But I did resort, we were on that trip to Arizona, and I remember I wanted to try, this one restaurant had a salsa that they really bragged about, and they said it was the best salsa in the Southwest. And Deanna and I were out for a nice steak dinner, and this restaurant had bragged about how they had the best salsa in the Southwest. When they laid it on the table and you could see the smoke curling up from the bowl, I should have known what I was getting into. It was a tad bit warm. Never will forget that. And the same with horseradish. I love horseradish. Do you love horseradish? But I can't eat that like I used to. I mean, some of that stuff, when you take the first bite, your nostrils flare like the Roy Rogers trigger, and whoa, baby, you need something to curb that heat. But I can't do that anymore. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I would love to talk to you about any subject for the remainder of time in this half hour. By the way, while I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, I want to brag about a guy that has been over here doing a business and service for us, getting rid of those doggone voles and mice. We had them all over the place, and they're gone. I mean, adios, dead. Certified Pest Control with Kevin, and they did a wonderful job, and I highly recommend you get a hold of them now at this time of the year to get ready to kill all the weeds with a pre-treatment. That's right. Get rid of those nasty weeds, and don't forget to spray your trees and use insecticide and dormant oil to kill those pesky pests, and also be safe. B-E-E. That's right. Be safe. And they can get rid of all the noxious weeds. I'm telling you, Certified Pest Control does a fantastic job. Here's the number. Call them right now today. Tell them I told you to call. 219-7576. That number again, write it down. 219-7576. Certified Pest Control. Good. Very good. Okay, it's your turn. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, give me a call. We'll talk about any subject you want to talk about. This is kind of an interesting story right here about us being able to protect ourselves and protect our property. Well, down in New Mexico, a guy used two burglary victims in New Mexico used a rifle and a handgun. This is not right the way they've got this worded. No, not the victims. Yeah, it is the victims. I'm reading it wrong. Okay. Two victims of a burglary in New Mexico went to get a rifle and a handgun to keep the thieves under wraps until the police arrived. One of the Albuquerque residents came home and they noticed a stranger loading items into their vehicle, including a generator, and the homeowner recognized as his into a vehicle. So he's sitting there in his car, and he's watching this guy in his driveway load up various items that were his into the burglar's vehicle. Well, the guy got out of his car, and he walked over to this guy, and he says, excuse me, what are you doing? And the thief said something that I can't say over the radio, and he said, get out of my way. And the guy told him, well, that's my stuff. And the thieves literally scoffed at this guy, and they told him to get out of the way, and they were going to keep on stealing stuff from his house. Well, the man said, no, I don't think you are, and walked into his house while the thieves were still loading more of the homeowner's items, and he got a gun and a rifle. And I guess finally the burglars got the point that the homeowner was not happy with what was going on, and they called the police and had them arrested. Can you imagine the gall of those burglars? Oh, we don't care if you like it or not, Mr. Homeowner. We're going to steal your microwave. We're going to steal your generators and everything else. Just get out of our way. We're in a hurry. What? And so the homeowner said, well, I'll be back in a minute, and came back with a 30-06 and a 357, and I guess, rightfully so, that it got the burglars' attention, and they stood there until the police arrived. You know, and it's getting that brazen. It is getting that brazen. They'll come and they'll rob you in broad daylight. They'll just absolutely challenge you if you're going to stop them. And this homeowner did. What are your thoughts on this? And yet the government wants to take our guns away. They want to turn us into people that run and hide. Oh, Mr. Burglar, here, take everything, but please don't hurt us. This is insane. And it's got to be stopped. Now, just ask the people over in Australia what they think of the gun control measures by the government. They are literally, they're naked. They are absolutely naked and can't protect themselves, their family, their property, nothing. And that example of gun control over in Australia is the same method of gun control that Hillary Clinton is espousing to have happen here in America. I kid you not. I kid you not. And I'd like your thoughts on this. You come home and you find somebody that is helping themselves to your material goods, and you ask them, hey, what are you doing? Well, we're stealing. Well, stop. No, we're in a hurry. Just get out of our way. Well, this is insane. And it happened in Albuquerque, New Mexico area. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, give me a call. And while I'm waiting for your call, as again I think is coming in, I can feel it. I can just feel the vibration from that call. I also want to mention to you about our friends that sponsor a segment on our program every Thursday called School Days in Cassia County, and they are A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. Oh my goodness, they just celebrated their 13th birthday sale, and they've got all the furniture for the wee ones, the cribs and the changers, bit my tongue, changers and the chest of drawers and everything, and they got all the clothing and the games and the toys, and don't forget they've got all the Cherokee scrubs, everything. Spring clothes are starting to arrive, too, at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley, along with the Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland in Burley. The number to call to find out more information on your outpatient surgeries to where they can save you hundreds of dollars, 677-8888. That number again, 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland in Burley and A Child's World on Overland Station, bringing you on Thursdays, school days in Cassia County. All right, your turn. Come on, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Rudy would welcome your calls here this morning, and we can talk about the campaign. The caucus in Nevada is going to go on tonight, and we'll see if Trump's going to sweep that one too, and then they'll move on to states like Ohio and Michigan. And what are your thoughts about what we mentioned just a little bit ago about basketball? I think the scoring and the talent level is way down. And then Barack Obama making a joke about finding a nominee for the Justice Scalia's seat, very inappropriate yesterday. And also closing Gitmo. Did you also hear about Ithaca, New York? I'll tell you that in just a minute. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yes, sir. Let's make it a trifecta.
There you go. Home run across the finish line. Go ahead.
Well, I should put a sign outside my house and anybody else that there's nothing inside this house worth dying for.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be brazen, those thieves. Go get out of our way. We're going to do... And just keep hauling it out while the homeowner walks in the house.
Can you believe it?
One would have to think alcohol or drugs was involved.
Yeah. But, Doug, honestly, think about this. I've been doing this job for years and years and years, and I hear stories and read stories and understand stories that'll just curl your hair. But, even here locally, I remember about 7 years ago, there used to be an ag newspaper delivered on weekends from the Times News, and one of the deputy sheriffs in the area came out with a story about, if somebody's stealing something on your property, whether it's your horse trailer, whether it's your cattle or whatever, run in the house, lock the door, and call 911. Are you kidding me?
No, I'd call 911, and like that one story, this one guy called the police, says, hey, we got people stealing stuff out of my garden shed.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't have anybody available. We can't be there for about 20 minutes.
Uh-huh.
So he hung up the phone, and about 5 minutes later, he called back. He says, hey, we got 3 dead bodies out by my garden shed. I killed the thieves that were stealing stuff. He said there were 6 police cars there in a matter of seconds.
Absolutely. But the point is, in America today, we have been told now by the liberal nitwits that property doesn't matter anymore, and human lives of the crooks, they're way supreme over us, and don't point a gun at anybody, and leave them alone, and they're underprivileged, blah, blah, blah. I am sick and tired of this, and if they come onto my property, I'm not going to say exactly what might happen.
Well, they need to carry ID so next of kin can be notified.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah, like that kid here in Burley, what was it, last summer?
Yeah.
He was going in the houses with people in the houses?
I know a very prominent Burley resident that was in the house taking a nap, and they were in his house stealing while he was taking a nap.
Yeah. I'll guarantee you, if they'd have been in my house, and if I'd have woke up and seen them, that definitely would have been carrying them out.
I just can't understand why we have to absolutely aid and abet criminality in our country.
No, I don't understand it. Why they have more rights than the victims?
Amen.
Beside me.
All right, well, we killed about 5 minutes there, Dougie. Thanks. Take care.
Anytime, young man.
Okay, see you later, buddy. Oh, my goodness sakes. Let's see what else have I got to tell you about. Dr. History is looming out in the other room, I think. And he'll be coming up next, so stay tuned. Zeb at the Ranch, and you're hopefully hearing everything and listening to the program. Make sure that you are hearing everything. Contact Mount Harrison Audiology for a hearing screening. Call 312-0957 today. Now we're going to turn it back over to Wheels, the good old Wheels, and CBS News. Oh, my goodness. Yes, it's that time on Tuesday, and we're going to introduce our celebrity extraordinaire in just a moment. Oh, yeah, and Dr. History's here, too. But anyway, stand by because I want to mention to you, this is Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. And, of course, some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal, 734-6969. Well, as I mentioned, it is time for Dr. History, brought to you by Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. Old Zach and the rest of the crew with all your lumber for your spring remodeling. Get a hold of them today, 878-2091. We'll have more, but right now let's say good morning to the gum-chewing Dr. History.
Good morning, Zeb. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
It's a nice day out there. Sun's shining. It's looking nice.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you, I get spring fever.
Yeah, a day like today looks nice.
Yeah, really. You know, one of the questions I've had as we watch television and we peruse history, you always see like old Milburn Stone when he starred on Gunsmoke as the old doc. But he never had assistants. He never had any nurses. Didn't they have nurses back in those days?
That's the subject of today's topic, or the topic of today's subject.
You blew it, Doc.
I did. Yes, the nurses, and you don't see any movies or TV shows really about the nurses of the Old West, and yet they played a huge part in helping the pioneers, the mountain men, even the Indians, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Well, as I mentioned, any discussion of medical progress or modern hospitals cannot be complete without honoring the nursing profession. Now, the status of both hospitals and the nursing profession kind of developed together. Mm-hmm. Yet women have served as amateur nurses for centuries. They tended to the personal care of sick people, and they've always been primarily, it's been the responsibility of women.
Yeah.
You think about the old communities. There was always somebody that helped deliver babies,
what do they call them, midwives?
Midwives, yeah. And if somebody was hurt, it was usually the women that did something.
Yeah.
But it was actually well into the 20th century before nurses began to gain respect as a profession. But even in the early days, there was a lot of young women that were drawn to this calling as a way to make their mark in the world.
I'll be darned.
And, you and I have both seen nurses and what they put up with, and they are a special person. That's all I can say.
Would you want to deliver bedpans?
No. I mean, okay. So they are great. But, one of the historians pointed out, he said, as poorly salaried as it was and as difficult as it was to achieve for many young women, nursing was a move up in status. It was a profession.
How did they create the jobs?
Well, I think it was mostly on-the-job training.
I see.
Really.
I see.
Now, during the Crimean War in 1854, wounded soldiers were dying of infections in military hospitals when British nurse Florence Nightingale came on the scene. And basically what she did is she improved the hygiene by scrubbing the wards and the halls from top to bottom, washing the linens, separating infected patients from non-infected ones, and she reduced the mortality rate from infections in British soldiers from 40% to 2%.
Let me ask you, though, it was almost agony in the Civil War. I mean, the treacherous violence of how the doctors had to treat their patients.
Well, and stories go of, a table with the doctor taking off a leg or an arm.
Yeah.
They'd move that patient off, throw a bucket of water on the table, put another patient on there.
Yeah.
In fact, I can't remember which battle it was, but they were on the second story, and they threw the amputated legs and arms out the window.
Oh, my.
And by the time they were done, that pile reached up to that second story window.
Oh, my goodness. That's terrible.
But cleanliness was, it was just totally ignored.
When did hygiene really introduce itself into medicine?
Well, I think we may cover that a little bit as we go along here. Right. But, actually, there was a lady by the name of Elizabeth Blackwell who was actually the first woman doctor in the United States. And that was about mid-1800s, about 1850. Yeah. But in America, many Army doctors during the Civil War refused to work with women who volunteered as nurses.
Really?
It required thousands of deaths in Army hospitals before the military hierarchy, especially the doctors, accepted nurses and their instincts for cleanliness as a valid way to reverse the trend of death.
Huh.
So on the Yankee side, one outstanding nurse, her name was Mary Ann Bickerdike, Actually, Bickerdike. That's the way it looks. So, anyway, she became a legend, and this forceful lady from Ohio became known as Mother Bickerdike, and they also called her the Cyclone in Calico. So I have a feeling that she was a pretty forceful type lady. But with only personal experience and a great deal of common sense, she fashioned hospitals on the battlefields, on the decks of ships, and in barns, houses, abandoned buildings. And in all, she set up about 300 field hospitals for General Ulysses S. Grant's Western armies.
Wow.
She nursed, cooked, organized supplies, arranged transport for her, what she called her boys. She gathered herbs and made poultices and medicines. And when one kind of proud doctor asked her where she got her authority, she said, "From the Lord God Almighty."
Yeah.
And you have to think that these people did have kind of a inward calling, or whatever you want to call it, to be able to help people like they do.
You mentioned something about the herbs and the poultices and everything. A lot of that was not, quote unquote, really based on medical science, was it?
But I think some of it they got from Indians. I think some they got from maybe Europe even, and brought over here. But after the war, someone said of her efforts, "Your Army record, which was a record of service to the sick and wounded soldiers in camp, hospital, and on the battlefields, transcends that of all other women." So she was an amazing woman. That's all I can say about her. Do you want to take a break right here, Zeb? This might be a good spot.
You know, Dr. History and I, of course, our wives probably have little jobs for us to do this spring. One, of course, might be remodeling. So maybe there's a room, maybe there's something with the roof, maybe you have to put some new windows in, whatever. You'd better check with Minnecasia Sales. 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. Old Zach and the whole crew, man, they can help you, and they will. And I suggest you stop in or give them a call today. 878-2091. 878-2091, Minnecasia Sales. And they've got all the carpet. I mean, really, call Zach or stop in, because they can help you at Minnecasia Sales. And now, back to...
Here we
Dr.
go.
History.
Well, in general, nursing throughout the 1800s was an art learned at the mother's knees. So there's the education right there, Zeb.
Yep.
Nuns of various religious orders also served as nurses during wartime and on the frontier. And it's interesting to note that during the Civil War, black women were accepted as nurses, and in this capacity actually suffered less prejudice. And among African American women serving as nurses in the Civil War was a lady by the name of Susie King Taylor, who accompanied her husband to battle with the 1st South Carolina Volunteers and nursed the sick and the injured. Another lady by the name of Harriet Tubman.
I heard of her.
Have you?
Sure.
Okay. Was also said to have nursed Union soldiers in the hospital.
Now, she was, oh boy, I got to think about this, and maybe the audience can help us too. Harriet Tubman, there is a collegiate scholarship, I believe, named for her.
You know, there could be, because that does sound really familiar.
Yeah.
But while there were few effective treatments available for many of the sick and wounded soldiers, the nurses did much to promote their comfort, raise their morale. Louisa May Alcott, a Union nurse, wrote of her experiences in a makeshift Army hospital. She said, "I would poke up the fire, add blankets, joke, coax, and command, but continue to open doors and windows as if life depended on it." And another Civil War nurse described how she went from cot to cot, sponging foreheads, talking and reading to the wounded, writing letters for them, bringing them food, giving them medicine. And we begin the day by getting them all washed and freshened up, breakfasted. Then the surgeons and dressers make their rounds, open the wounds, apply the remedies, and replace the bandages. This is an awful hour. I sat with my fingers in my ears this morning.
Ooh.
Because, you know, there's no anesthesia.
Screams, yeah.
Well, in the South, well-bred ladies were discouraged from working as nurses.
Really?
Because it was viewed as a degrading occupation.
Oh, my.
So, nevertheless, many of them did volunteer, but because of the social attitude, most of them remained anonymous.
Can you imagine the human suffering suffering back then from the pain.
Yeah.
Ay.
But one Southern nurse, her name was Kate Cumming, alluded to Florence Nightingale and said bitterly, "It seems strange that the aristocratic women of Great Britain have done with honor what is a disgrace for their sisters on this side of the Atlantic to do."
I see.
Just,
Wow.
I don't know why that was.
When did they change their attitude on it?
I think it just slowly changed through the mid-1800s.
Wow.
But medical care during the Spanish-American War showed little progress. There was a nurse named actually Anna Turner who volunteered for service in Virginia in 1898. So we're getting towards the end of the 1800s. But she cared for wounded soldiers returning from Cuba. Many of the men were sick with typhoid. She describes the hospital in her diary. She says, "A tent hospital was set up consisting of 4 tents placed together. This housed 100 men ill with typhoid.
Oh, boy.
Equipment consisted of 20 cots, 1 hand basin, 1 water pail and dipper, 1 bedpan, a stand by each cot, a corpsman, no training. When she first arrived, her commanding officer had told her, 'You are not wanted.' Well, after weeks of observing her grueling work, he apologized.
1 water bucket for 100 soldiers?
That were sick. So, okay, now we're moving a little further ahead. 1917.
Oh, right around the First World War.
Yeah. So trained nurses were sorely needed, not only to care for wounded soldiers in World War I, but also to fight another enemy that was killing thousands worldwide, influenza.
Oh, my.
For nurses who served during this period, whether overseas or on the stateside, the terrible pandemic dominated their lives.
And they were really subjecting themselves to getting it too, weren't
exactly. They were right there with them.
Yeah.
So, and as in other wars, more soldiers suffered from sickness than from wounds. And many hospitals overflowed with influenza patients.
Oh, my.
The number of nurses volunteering for military service caused a shortage at home. And after the armistice, many nurses' tours were extended to care for the men with the influenza.
And they didn't have the medications or the pharmaceutical advances then that they do now. It was just basically either get better or die.
Yeah. They started doing some injections, though, through there somewhere. Yeah.
Did they?
Yep. But the flu epidemic at the end of World War I resulted in an unintended breakthrough for the black nurses. Before the epidemic, most African Americans were effectively banned from the Army Nurse Corps and the Red Cross. So the urgent need for nursing care finally overruled this discrimination against nurses of color. Now, it wasn't until World War II that American nurses really came into their own. This is where they really stood out. And during that war, Army nurses could achieve full officer status, and all nurses enjoyed an improved public image. It took that long.
Wow.
But it was through wartime service that the women of this humanitarian vocation eventually earned the appreciation of the medical establishment, as well as the public. So 80 years after the Civil War, when doctors dismissed the efforts of volunteer women, nurses finally gained acceptance as true partners in the medical profession.
That doesn't seem possible.
Well, I guess there's just an ego thing there, and obviously there was some really good doctors that knew the value of a good nurse.
See, now I would have thought that nurses would have been very prominent back at the Revolutionary War.
Yeah, you would think that they would see the care and the giving, because there weren't enough doctors to go around.
Absolutely.
So
who cared for them then?
Well, I think just volunteers. I think women, and even if they weren't called nurses.
I see.
So, but there's little doubt that doctors practicing on the frontier needed the help of a good nurse. Now, most people were sick. They were bedridden for long periods, and nursing care was the primary treatment for illness. Just somebody to be there.
My goodness.
So, despite the great scientific and technical progress in medicine and nursing during the 20th century, many facilities in rural areas remained primitive for years. I mean, you can imagine out here in this part of the West, communities 20, 30, 40 miles apart.
Yeah.
So hospitals were sometimes merely converted homes or other buildings with a little bit of equipment. Major surgical cases were usually sent to the bigger towns, and a nurse would often accompany the patients on these uncomfortable trips by train, maybe even automobile, or even in a sleigh in the middle of winter. Sometimes the railroad put patients on cots in the baggage compartment.
Oh, my.
Because I guess that was the only way they could lay them down.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the state of the medical care in some of these really remote areas. But the first nurse to come to Montana frontier with formal training was probably a lady by the name of Catherine Babbage Carruthers, and she was known in the region as Miss Babbage.
I see.
But after training to be a midwife in Washington, D.C., she arrived by steamboat at Fort Benton in 1864 up there in Montana. And doctors were scarce, and Miss Babbage filled the shoes of both nurse and doctor to a lot of the frontier men and their families in that area. So now one of the first nurses registered in Montana was a gal they called Auntie Ray.
Oh,
by her patients. Auntie Ray. And she actually established a maternity home where women could come in from the distant outlying areas and stay at this maternity home until they had their baby, which had to improve the birth rate of live babies by a huge amount.
Absolutely.
But another early Montana nurse her name was Thora Firming Phelan.
Say that fast 5 times. Go ahead, try it.
We're going to call her Mrs. Phelan.
That's the way to do it.
But anyway, after serving as an Army nurse in the Spanish-American War in 1898, Thora came to Montana shortly after the turn of the century. She married a guy by the name of Mr. Phelan. That's why we're going to call her Mrs. Phelan.
Oh, come on. What was his name?
Doesn't even say Mr.
Okay, Mr.
But she went with him to a ranch in the Bear Paw Mountains north of the Missouri River.
Okay.
And this was up in Montana.
Yep.
And this was a blessing for the families who lived in these rugged foothills. She traveled by horse or wagon. She nursed her neighbors through epidemics of typhoid, measles, scarlet fever. Now, here again, consider she's among these people that are sick and whatever else came to these homesteaders. And there were no doctors nearby, so she was usually on her own to face any misfortune that presented itself, which she did with calm self-assurance.
Wow.
And we're talking about cuts and broken bones and wounds of all kinds. But on one occasion, to reach a suffering child from a severe infection, this woman traveled 30 miles by horse and wagon in a blizzard. She found the little girl shivering in an unheated shack with the wind whistling through the cracks in the walls. There was no water, so she started a fire, melted some snow. She bathed the child in the heated water, wrapped her in blankets, made a bed using sawhorses she found in the yard, and what other measures she took are not really recorded, but they must have been effective because the child survived.
Wow.
I mean,
what was the child doing out there all by itself?
Well, it wasn't. I mean, somehow they got word to her, and the child must have been with the family, but they didn't know what to do for this child.
Okay.
So, but anyway, from approximately 1870 to 1910, as doctors and patients began to accept hospitals as true medical facilities, the education of nurses evolved. Now, this blossoming of nurse training was prompted by the need for, and I hate to say this, but cheap labor in hospitals.
That's too bad.
It is, because women, especially female students, they fulfilled that need. Now, in spite of the low wages, many women entered the nursing field, and again, I've got to say, they must have felt it was their calling in life.
Yeah.
But in 1873, there were only 3 nurse training schools in the United States. But by 1900, just a few years later, there were 432, and by 1910, more than 1,000 places where nurses could get training.
You know, and there's excellent training right here at the College
CSI.
of Southern Idaho. Yeah.
Yes.
My daughter-in-law, as a matter of fact, is a nurse.
And that's a great place to go.
Yep.
It really is. But
Yep.
Montana was among the earliest states to offer nurse training, and that was in Great Falls. But one early student recalled making trips by stagecoach, traveling up to 65 miles, the last few miles on foot, in rural areas. Home care still remained a common service. They would go to the homes.
Yeah.
But they practiced primarily in private homes, working around the clock with no time off for $6 a day plus meals.
Oh, my goodness. $6.
I mean,
which would be today the equivalency of what, 600? With
I don't
inflation?
know. But,
I don't know either.
Again, you know, these nurses, I don't think they were ever really truly appreciated, except maybe by their patients.
Yeah.
But even the doctors who work side by side with them often fail to recognize their invaluable contributions to medicine. Yet physicians, patients, and all of mankind owe a huge debt and gratitude to these professional women.
Absolutely.
And their creed declares in part, it says, "With loyalty will I endeavor to aid the physician in his work and devote myself to the welfare of those committed to my care."
There you go.
And
our salute to nurses.
Yeah, and again, even today, I think it's improved a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And you and I have both been in hospitals in various situations, and I can honestly say I've always been treated very well.
Well, and today there's been the inclusion of males in the nursing industry.
Exactly, and that probably was kind of a breakthrough, too. And there's a lot of male nurses that do amazing work, and I applaud their efforts and their dedication.
Yeah. Very interesting story about the state of medicine back in the 1800s, actually even before.
Yeah.
And thank you very much.
You bet.
What did you learn that stayed with you the most when you did that study on nursing?
I think the fact that, I always hear about the doctors traveling for 10, 20, 30 miles, but you don't think about the nurses being the only medical care traveling 30, 40, 50 miles to somebody's homestead.
I've got to say that through my past of having over 17 operations and everything and all the things that have happened to me in my life, do I remember the doctors? Yeah. But do I remember the nurses more? Absolutely. Their personalities, their wanting to give and help people, they stay in your mind.
They do. Just the comfort and the just being there, even if they weren't doing anything. Sometimes they would just stay there with you, maybe hold your hand, just be there.
Absolutely. So I guess this is our salute to nurses nationwide, worldwide
today. You bet.
Because now we're heard, in
about 110, 12 countries, So we're still out there.
To all the nurses around the world, Dr. History and Zeb salute you.
Yes.
There you go. What are we going to talk about next week? I'm sure you've got it prepared. What about the medicines, though, as far as one question I had while you were doing this whole dissertation is that whether it was from the Civil War or whether it was leading up to World War II, what about pharmaceutical companies as we know them today? They seem to be on every corner in every state, etc. And every time you turn on the TV, you're going to hear about different pharmaceuticals that are available. When did they really take off and flourish?
I'm really not sure. I know that penicillin was one of the first major breakthroughs, and also just cleanliness, just keeping things clean. In fact, there was a hospital where it was a learning hospital for doctors, and in the basement they had their anatomy lab where they did dissection. And when a baby needed to be delivered, they would go up to the second or third floor, deliver a baby, and the mortality rate was high. And there was a doctor, and I can't remember his name, he said, let's wash our hands before we go up to deliver the baby.
There you go.
And the mortality rate decreased immensely.
Oh, great. Dr. History, you did it again. Thank you so much.
You have a good day, Zeb.
God bless you, my dear friend. And Dr. History is brought to you by Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. Number to call, 878-2091. Real quick, before we send it back over to our station, don't forget Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair at 635 21st Street, Alfresco Road in Hayburn. Well, Doug bought the business back in 2009, left the name stayed Ted's Diesel Electric Service until just recently, and he's going to start calling it Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair. Same great service, just a different name. Open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Call him, 878-4991. We're going to have more, but we'll be back in just about 3 minutes with our next guest on Zeb at the Ranch. You stay tuned.
And now to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Are you looking for the best of bulls for your herd? Well, look no further because, it's that time again for the 21st annual Sheridan Ranch Bull Sale at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard on March 5th. Sale starting at 1 p.m. There's going to be lunch provided at noon. They're going to sell 85 head of ripping good bulls, and free delivery up to 300 miles. And I'll tell you what, I know Cordell and Patty Sheridan, and they have really put a life's work into always having and providing the best of bulls for their sale. And they're going to have a guest consignor this year, Deep Creek Ranch, Dennis and Cindy Tim. Don't forget, mark it on your calendar, March 5th. That's coming up in a couple of days. Sales starting at 1 p.m. at the Burley Auction Yard in Burley. The Sheridan Ranch Bull Sale for 2016. Don't you miss it. Right now, let's go to the phone lines, and we're very honored. I think this is the first time I've had this gentleman on my program. Let's check and see. Tom Saleo, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning, Zeb. I'm doing great. How are you?
I believe it's the first time I've had you on the show, is it not?
It is. Thank you very much for having me on.
Well, it's my pleasure. You wrote an outstanding piece for The Stream entitled, Hey, Presidential Candidates, What About Afghanistan? And I thought you hit a home run with that piece. Where did you get the thoughts behind it to write that story?
Well, thank you, Zeb. I appreciate that. And for those who want to read the piece, you can find it at stream.org. I wrote the piece because I've spent about 5 years now actually speaking with hundreds of Gold Star families, which, in case any of your listeners aren't aware, Gold Star families have lost a loved one in service to our country. And I've also spoken with many veterans and also military family members. And I think we need a reminder that we have almost 10,000 American troops still in Afghanistan right now. And when I give that number, I think it's important that we remember that's not a statistic. These are young men and women with families. Many have children who are, worried about mommy and daddy coming home from Afghanistan. And, here we are in the thick of a presidential election and going about our lives, and you don't hear much about it anymore. So when Gary Sinise, the fantastic Hollywood actor, who I actually say in the column is probably our most patriotic actor since Ronald Reagan, stood up at the Grammy Awards and gave a shout-out to them serving overseas, I said, well, if an actor like Gary Sinise can do that, why aren't our presidential candidates saying that on the campaign trail or in the debates, or why are they not even being asked about Afghanistan? So I'm hoping that, more of us can remember these brave men and women who are still overseas now and really give them the credit they deserve and talk about their sacrifices more.
Let me ask you this, Tom. Do you think, and bear with me on this question, but do you think it's kind of a out of sight, out of mind on purpose because of this current administration trying to minimize our military? Do you think that's really the fault?
Well, I'd rather not get into the politics of this situation. I would hope that any commander-in-chief or prospective commander-in-chief would honor the service of our military, no matter what the political, climate or impact of that would be. But in terms of it being an issue, I'm going to just briefly read you the headline of or the opening paragraph of a Fox News story from February 11th by Jennifer Griffin and Lucas Tomlinson. For the first time since combat operations were declared over at the end of 2014, a battalion of 500 U.S. Army infantrymen is being sent to southern Afghanistan's volatile Helmand province, where the Taliban have made a comeback. So, that's right in the thick of the New Hampshire primary at the time and other things going on in the political world. And you heard almost nothing about it. I mean, Fox, to their credit, and other news agencies did report that story, but, hundreds of Americans have died in the Helmand province of Afghanistan. And actually, Staff Sergeant Matthew McClintock of Albuquerque, New Mexico, was killed in Marja on January 5th of this year. And we're not talking about it. So whatever the reasons are, The reasons are wrong, and we need to get this back to the forefront because we owe that to our military.
Absolutely. Now, in your piece, you were talking about the political possible nominees for president and how very, very little, if not at all, they mentioned Afghanistan. What can we do to maybe push for, in future debates or future discussions, more of a talk about Afghanistan and our soldiers? What can we do to promote that?
Well, you hear candidates and even the current president and the previous president, they always say the most important decision a president can make is whether to send troops into harm's way. So, if they're saying that, why aren't we asking the question, well, what about the 9,800 Americans who are still in Afghanistan right now? I believe there will be 5,500 under the current plan still in Afghanistan when President Obama leaves office. So isn't this one of the most important questions for the next commander-in-chief? What about the 5,500 Americans in Afghanistan? What's your plan to eventually bring them home, but also to succeed while they're there and give them the tools necessary to succeed?
Right.
And then, of course, one issue we are hearing more about, and it's a positive in the campaign, is taking care of our vets and making sure that the Veterans Affairs Administration, some of the problems that have gone there are fixed. So that's to their credit. But in addition to taking care of our veterans, we need to remember that they're there right now and ask that important question to any man or woman who wants to become the next commander-in-chief of our country.
Tom, in your research for this article, did you find out on a plus or a minus scale, are our troops that are still over there, totaling over 10,000, are they getting what they need? Are they getting what they want? I hope our military and our nation is taking care of them.
Yeah, I certainly hope so, too. From a policy standpoint, it's a little difficult for me to comment on that because what I try to do in my writing is focus on the personal stories of these American heroes and try to help people understand, what a person or a military family as well goes through serving over there. We've definitely heard stories before, going back to the Iraq War as well, about equipment shortages and things of that nature. I certainly hope that's the case, Zeb, and if I hear that that's not happening, believe me, I'll be writing about it on the screen.
Let me ask you this, Tom. I would assume that people like myself, people like you, people like my listeners, it would not hurt at all to write letters to the editor or call their senators and their congressmen to make sure that they're well aware that the term Afghanistan and our military are always in the forefront. I just think we need to put it on the front burner all the time, 24/7.
I could not agree more, Zeb. I think that's a great thing for Americans to write letters to the editor, to call their local politicians and say, hey, and believe me, almost every community in this country has a young man or woman deployed either to Afghanistan or other hotspots around the world. So this impacts each and every one of our lives. And again, we still have Americans making the ultimate sacrifice in Afghanistan and around the world. In addition to Staff Sergeant McClintock in Afghanistan on January 5th, a lot of us didn't see this story because it was right before Christmas, but 6 American Air Force airmen were killed in Afghanistan by a suicide bomber.
Right.
So that's 6 American families that, when they should have been celebrating Christmas, instead they were welcoming the flag-draped casket for their loved ones home in Delaware. And, I think when we think about the wars and the conflicts in terms of, the enormous sacrifices that our military families continue to endure, I think it makes it a lot easier to stand up and say, you know what, I'm going to make sure their sacrifices are being noticed.
Tom, what about the politics of their staying there? Have you seen or read about a depletion of their numbers and a lessening of the involvement? I mean, what's the departure table look like as far as what you know?
Well, the current plan, like I said, we have 9,800 American troops in Afghanistan now. I believe the current plan by the administration is that there will be 5,500 U.S. troops remaining when President Obama leaves office in late January. But again, as we pointed out earlier, 500 American Army infantrymen were just sent to Helmand Province, the most volatile region in Afghanistan, has been that way for many years. A lot of Americans have died there. A lot of Americans have lost limbs and made under their incredible sacrifices there. I believe they're replacing another unit, but still there's a net of 350 more Americans going into arguably the most dangerous part of Afghanistan, or really anywhere in the world. So even though you have politicians of all sides going out there sometimes saying, well, combat has ended in Afghanistan, on any given day, any given moment, there are Americans risking their lives in a war zone, no matter what a politician says. And that, to me, the least we can do if an American man or woman is willing to leave their family and volunteer to go to a place like Afghanistan, we owe it to them to pay attention to their sacrifices and to talk about it and make it part of the political process as well. I
agree. One final thought here this morning, Tom. The VA. I want to have you talk a little bit about that because I'm sure that you've done research on that also. I am appalled that our soldiers would come back from combat, come back from serving in our military, come back from protecting not only us but the world, and then to be treated like second and third class citizens. I will do anything on this program I can to elevate that, but what are your thoughts about the VA? And still, it has not been cleaned up.
Right. I think that's a good point. The research that I've done, instead of, going through websites and looking at statistics, I talked to men and women who actually were wounded in combat. I'm actually writing a book called Fire in My Eyes with a wounded Navy lieutenant who lost his sight in Afghanistan and wound up winning a gold medal in swimming at the Paralympic Games in London.
Wow.
And, as his name's Brad Snyder, by the way, and as Brad embodies the courage of our veterans, these young men and women who come back, and they're not receiving, in some cases, the care that they need. Brad, for instance, largely did receive the care he needed, and that's a great thing. And we need to see every veteran getting the kind of care that Brad got and others have gotten.
Absolutely.
But our veterans are the next leaders. They already are, but they're the next leaders of our society. And, I think in 12 years, maybe even sooner, I hope it's sooner, that we're going to have another veteran from the Afghanistan or Iraq conflict, actually, as our president. And I absolutely agree that getting them the care they need really should be right at the top of what we're thinking about as a country, along with the men and women who are still there serving in harm's way. Any country that must take care of the men and women who step forward to defend it.
Absolutely. Tom, we have a caller with a question. Caller, quickly with your comment, please.
Yes, I hope you haven't covered this. I've been unable to listen as much as I wanted. When Hillary Clinton lied on the tarmac there to the loved ones of the people that lost their lives in Benghazi, I just thought to myself, can there be anything lower than that? And I'll hang up.
Tom, you want to make a comment on that, please?
Well, again, we owe it to any American family that has lost a loved one in combat, in service to our nation, in defense of our nation, in defense of an embassy. We owe them the truth, and we owe them dignity and honor and respect. And, again, without wading into the political implications of a specific situation, that needs to happen all the time in all cases by any political leader, because, again, who sacrificed more for our country than someone who's given their life.
Absolutely. Tom Saleo, I have never met you, but I salute you for this great article. Hey, presidential candidates, what about Afghanistan? Very well put together. Tom, don't be a stranger. Come back and visit with us on this program in the future, would you?
Thanks for having me on, Zeb. Absolutely.
All right, sir. God bless. Thank you so much.
Okay, you too.
A man that writes for The Stream, and that's Tom Saleo, and he's author of quite a few books, too. I compliment him on a great job called, Hey, Presidential Candidates, What About Afghanistan? Right now, it is time for the weather, and then we'll take some more of your calls. Give me a jingle at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. But the weather this hour is brought to you by Scarro's Meats. Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew, located at 331 North Road, Jerome. 324-7657 is the number, and they are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Don't forget they've got that tax return meat bundle. Yeah, right now 70-plus pounds of beef and pork and chicken for only $249 plus tax. It is good. Your hometown meat cutter, Scarro's Meats. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Looks like it's going to be a great Tuesday. Sunny skies, a little bit on the breezy side. Winds out of the east right around 12 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 45 tonight, low of 25 tomorrow. Partly cloudy, high of 50 with an overnight low of 28. Sunny and 52 for Thursday, and should see a 60 on Friday. However, Saturday looks like rain showers are going to be moving into the valley. Winds going to be picking up to about 30 miles an hour and a high of 51. Yesterday's high was 44 and the overnight low is 29. That's your weather for Zeb at the Range.
Great job always, Gina, on the weather. And again, it's brought to you this hour by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. And the number to call, don't forget, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your call, I want to give you a couple of program notes. And we are tomorrow going to have a young man on our program that is the grandson of George Mass and Donna Mass. Adam Fowler is going to be here at about 9:30 tomorrow. We're going to be talking about flag education, going back into the classroom and learning more about civics and our country. God bless him. He's kind of led the charge for that, and we're looking forward to having him on the air tomorrow. And then at 10:30, we're going to have the University of Idaho President Staben on our program. And I'm going to ask him a lot of questions about college educations my phone's going off in my pocket. Scared me to death. I can't answer that right now. We're going to ask him about certain circumstances, like what's happened at the University of Missouri, where the students and the Black Lives Matter, and just in turmoil because basically the inmates have taken over the asylum. We're going to talk about university and college life and how it's changed, and the expenses, the enormous expenses of going to college and running up huge debt. We're going to have all that on the program with President Staben from the University of Idaho tomorrow at 10:30. So, tune in. Once again, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And while I'm waiting to answer your call, I'll tell you about the big Founders Celebration going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. We talk about tires every day. We talk about all the different tires for your pickups, your SUVs, your cars, your horse trailer, and everything, and they've got all the tires naturally. But you know what? I want to talk to you a little bit about their brake service. The best brake value promise in the industry, with professionally trained technicians offering you free brake inspections and estimates, premium quality parts, and the brake industry's best warranty. All of this and more at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in today, along with the tires, the brake service, the front end alignments, the shocks and the struts and the batteries. Oh my goodness, the custom wheels. It's all there for you, along with the best in service at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All righty. And, give us a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Another person I forgot to mention that is going to be on our program tomorrow is the research director at the Acton Institute and author of a book called Becoming Europe. Samuel Gregg is going to be on our program tomorrow. And boy, howdy, how we are changing in this country and adopting, unfortunately, a lot of the principles of Europe. And they're not very successful either. All right, give me a call, 436-2244. I want to mention again, old Sir Max was on the program a little bit earlier. Coming up this Saturday, February 27th, that great, big, huge chili cook-off and free chili feed at Magic Valley Tires in Paul, your Magic Valley Tires, Les Schwab Tire Center. And they're going to have the chili cook-off from, I think it starts at 10:30 in the morning. And then they're going to start serving free chili and free cinnamon rolls from 11 until 2. Now, if you want to enter your world-famous smoking hot chili or whatever kind of chili it is, all you have to do is call over there and get more information at 438-8444. 438-8444. And there will be cash prizes to the top 3, first, second, and third. So that's coming up this Saturday over at Magic Valley Tires in Paul with Max and the whole crew with the big chili cook-off. Man alive, I'll tell you what, that sounds delicious. Wheels, how are you this morning? Good to have you on the program. You're doing a wonderful job over there. And are you going to be at Lunch Bunch on Thursday?
Well, thank you, and I'm glad that I can be here. And my grandma came over for dinner last night, so I talked to her about it, and we will be over there.
You know, you're not stupid. You're a pretty sharp young man, because you figured out that if you invite Grandma to go to Lunch Bunch with you, then she'll pick up the tab. Is that right?
Wow, you caught on to that. Well, and, my grandma is recently retired now, and so, I figure it gives her something to do during her day, and, it kind of fills up her schedule a little bit.
You are a wily little grandson. I'll call Grandma and see if she wants to go to Lunch Bunch, and then you can order anything on the menu and give her that great big hand in the cookie jar smile, and she'll pick up your ticket. I got you figured out.
Well, and she's looking forward to the surprise guest at Lunch Bunch.
Well, she is a very, very nice lady. You have a wonderful grandmother, and you should appreciate her, believe me.
I don't try to take that for granted. She's been there for, me a lot throughout my years. So
okay, buddy.
I figure I might as well give it back.
All right, God bless you. Hey, by the way, to the listeners out there that want to start receiving cow pies and coffee cups, I want to just quickly reiterate, go to zebbell.com and follow all the go here, click this, etc., and then click on, give us your address, and you can start receiving it. We are now in over 37 states with cow pies and coffee cups, a weekly blog that we write, and if you'd like to receive it, be sure and go to the website, zebbell.com, and give us your address. By the way, also, I want to say thank you. We are on every morning right here at 8:06, starting on K-Bar 12:30 a.m., and then, of course, streaming live on the Internet all over the world on zebbell.com. So tell your friends and neighbors they can listen in. Just go to zebbell.com, click on the audio, there you go, and we just really appreciate all the listeners. We're getting cards and letters and emails from literally all over the country. Thank you so much. And, of course, we'll be back here tomorrow morning at 8:06 for 3 hours, and we always remind you the way things were are the way things ought to be. God bless you and your family. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06. Take it away, Wheels.